Through the passage of time, Maryknoll High School has produced a daily student schedule with the philosophy of having 3 to 4 large blocks of time, each 90 to 120 minutes in duration per day. This student schedule has been in place for decades. The theory of having only 3 long periods daily was to allow teachers the ability to use long periods of time to teach content in depth rather than breadth. This one-size-fits-all model is very clean and certainly very simple from an administrative point of view. Unfortunately, the long daily periods has made the core rotation of the classes slow, creating lengthy academic gaps for students and placing them at a disadvantage in academic situations. For example, due to academic gapping, a student may not have the appropriate math class leading up to an important AP testing date, leaving the student ill-prepared. Another disadvantage to students is the inconsistent use of time within each long period by different teachers. Today at Maryknoll, and with educators from all over the country, we have become aware of the national pedagogical shift on developing student schedules that are built primarily for student learning instead of teaching. This focus on learning deliberately creates scheduled time for personalized learning, adaptive student learning preferences, flexible use of both class time and course sequences, small and large group experiences, and continuous professional development for teachers and administrators. This pedagogical shift from teaching to learning has gained momentum for a good reason. All of us want to develop a rigorous, holistic, spiritual, and academic environment for our students. In order to do this, the structure of the schedule needs to be fixed to eliminate the inconsistencies that keep us from achieving true academic rigor, relevant learning, and teacher engagement. This video will introduce you to a contemporary way to schedule student learning time that has proven results. It's called flex scheduling. The flexibility in the schedule allows period durations to flex, allowing teachers to teach and students to learn in both long and shorter periods of time based on the type of course. With a flexible schedule, personalized and accelerated learning can happen. Many schools have already done this with positive results. Today's research on best practices has identified many learning theories that are supported by flex scheduling. For instance, educational research states that learning should occur both in and out of the classroom, and that activities and learning periods of time should be varied in duration. Research also suggests that learning should be personalized, relevant, and conducted to meet the individual needs of the learner, and that learning should be student-centered, including the ownership of that learning. In fact, flex scheduling is recognized as a best practice in breaking ranks and in other leading studies. Flex scheduling is based on a couple simple common sense beliefs. First, flex scheduling schools believe that one size fits all does not apply to learning and that students learn in a variety of ways and at varying rates. Equally important is the belief that meaningful learning experiences should occur outside of classes and that a combination of open labs, resource centers, and laboratories provide learning activities that support classroom learning as well as preparation for college experiences. In addition, flex scheduling schools believe that students should have access to teachers for help or consultation outside of scheduled classes, and that students can learn to make good decisions about how to use their unstructured learning time to best meet their own individual needs. Some of these philosophies are very different from what we have practiced in our current schedule, but flex scheduling allows our students to learn in various scheduled times, just like the environment in post-secondary universities. Finally, a school that uses flex scheduling believes that when it comes to teaching and learning, time should serve students instead of students serving time. As Maryknoll High School looks to a flex schedule, we have been asked occasionally, what's wrong with the old schedule? Well, prior to studying a flex schedule model, Maryknoll High School operated on a 3-period day, and most recently a 4-period day, similar to what you see in the picture here. It had operated on that model for decades. In this schedule, students were very limited in class selection, given the long periods for every type of class. Students had very limited access to teachers outside of their regularly scheduled class times. Long period days reduced the number of electives that could be offered. Academic gapping occurred between content and testing dates, and students and teachers found very little time to connect outside of the long class periods. So we knew we could do better, and a flex mod schedule addresses each of these concerns. On your screen is a basic template for our version of flex scheduling. Note that the schedule is based on a 6-day cycle. This will align both campuses on a similar schedule, making the transition to high school easier, the ability to share teacher resources, and allow for more course options for students. Flex periods, or phases of time, takes advantage of the shortest period of time a school may have for an activity or class, and then connects the phases of time to make long and short periods of time for learning. The flex schedule feels very collegiate. Every teacher has the freedom to develop their weekly required hours of course time through appropriate blocks of time that best meet the needs of the students. These combinations of time allow for very different teaching and learning options. Now, every flex scheduling school is a bit different. Some use 15-minute, 20-minute, or 30-minute blocks of time. It's basically up to the individual school. To illustrate how this works, let's build a sample student schedule, one phase at a time. The first phase that we'll put into our sample schedule are classes needing longer periods of time, and you see those in blue on the sample schedule. These phases of time are ideal for classes needing special presentations, lab preparation and cleanup, guest speakers, workshops, audio-visual presentations, or additional travel time for students walking between campuses. These longer phases of time are also excellent for differentiation strategies. The second phase that we will put into our sample student schedule are classes needing shorter phases of time. You can see those as light blue on the schedule. These shorter time-phased courses allow students to take courses that need a much faster and consistent rotation. These type of courses might be math, foreign language, social studies, or any course that is appropriate to meet with students daily. Again, through using various combination of phases, courses can be customized to enhance the learning experience and meet the specific needs of individual learners. The third phase in our sample schedule is the student discussion phase, which is shown as green boxes. These small phases of time give students the chance to make meaningful connections to the curriculum, instructors, and to their peers. In small groups of 8 to 10 students, students can dig deeper into the subject, work together on small group projects, collaborate more often, and can give enhanced meaning to their learning. Small group discussions can happen in our Learning Commons, Rogers Hall, administrative offices, counseling offices, or conference rooms. In this particular sample schedule of 8 classes, that's all the structured class time the student will have during the cycle. That's not to say, however, that the learning is done. Now, I want to pause and highlight one individual class so you can see what that looks like. In this case, geometry, to show how it looks throughout the cycle. Notice that this teacher has scheduled a longer lab on F days, shorter classes on B, C, and E days, and small group discussion on A days. These are all highlighted in yellow. In this particular example, geometry does not meet on D days of this cycle. Also note that the weekday of your selected classes will be different with each successive 6-day cycle, allowing for rotation of what day of the week classes will be held. This variety will give every teacher the opportunity to have courses both at the beginning and end of any given week. With strong organization and planning, this schedule will be very popular with our students. In a student schedule, whatever is not a scheduled class is called resource time. This includes lunch. Students are given 30 minutes and can have their lunch during any of their resource time that falls between 11:30 and 1 o'clock. The other phases of time are then scheduled as resource time based on the courses the student is taking. Resource time is scheduled for small groups and one-on-one time for teachers and students to meet. Resource time is also an ideal opportunity to address individual student needs, including interventions, acceleration, differentiated instruction, special needs support, and gifted and talented needs. Resource time also affords students the chance to take courses that may have conflicts during individual phases of individual days. For example, you can see that red box there. That shows a phase conflict on A day between biology and MX elective class. Those classes overlap or conflict between 10:15 and 10:30. We resolve that by having the student leave biology class 15 minutes early and arrive at the MX class 15 minutes late. Resource time helps address those conflicts. Technology such as Moodle and Google Docs will be used by all teachers to give students the opportunity to get the material that was missed during that conflict time. So there you have it, Maryknoll's vision of flex scheduling. If you have questions after viewing this video, feel free to contact Mrs. Tong, Mr. Cayley, or Mrs. Kawamura. They will be happy to help you. The next step for you is to collaborate with your department colleagues to determine how you want to teach your required hours of course time per 6-day cycle. Your department chair will help you along the way as you work together to design the duration of the different courses that you teach. We wish to thank the following schools for mentoring us in a search for the best schedule for Maryknoll High School. Merrill School in Wisconsin, Westside High School in Nebraska, River Bluff High School in South Carolina, and Punahou High School.